So I recently replaced our Gen 1 Fire TV Cube with a brand new Fire TV Stick 4K. And the reason we did this is we're having a lot of issues with the Gen 1 Fire TV Cube not getting the ALEXA commands properly, and it just wasn't working great. So we just decided to replace it. Let's try out the Fire TV Stick 4K and see how much better that worked. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, you know we do have quite an abnormal setup here as far as where the power cables are, all of that. So in order to get power for this thing properly, where you plug it into an outlet, I'd have to go all the way around the corner, and that's just gonna be quite a long micro USB cable. So I really didn't wanna opt for that. So naturally, I use the most logical option, and I just try and plug the Fire TV Stick into the USB port of the TV. Now, of course, there is a warning on the Fire TV Stick saying don't do this because it's not going to provide enough power, and you should definitely just plug it into the wall. So I did this anyways, and at first everything seemed to be perfectly fine. We didn't really have any issues starting out, but as we started using it a little more, we started to notice some really strange issues, and it was quite annoying to deal with some of them. So there are a few different issues you can experience when trying to run the setup like this. The first thing is you can receive a low power message, basically saying that your Fire TV Stick doesn't have enough power and you need to fix that. The second thing is you can get random blackouts, where all of a sudden you're watching a TV show, movie, the screen cuts to black, 2 or 3 seconds later, screen comes back on, and that can be quite frustrating. Now, if you're using ARC, you could lose the ARC connection, like we did. So if we were watching a movie or something, screen would cut out, and all of a sudden we have no audio going to the Sonos Arc soundbar. So I'd have to go into the Sonos app, mess things around, do CEC discovery again, and then that would fix it. But when these blackouts are happening like every 2 or 3 minutes, that's really not a feasible solution. And the third thing you may experience is a random reboot cycle, where all of a sudden the Fire TV Stick is rebooting every minute or two. So it powers up, you maybe try to do something, and all of a sudden it shuts down and starts rebooting again. It'll show the little Fire TV logo on the screen. And of course, that's not good. That could cause damage to the Fire TV Stick overall, just like randomly unplugging the power to a computer or a laptop or something. So why does this happen exactly? Well, the Fire TV Stick and most other streaming sticks require about 5 volts at 1,000 milliamps of power to actually work properly. And 5 volts at 1,000 milliamps or 5 volts at 1 amp, same thing there. But they require that much power to operate properly, and if they're not getting that much power, that's when we can run into some of these issues. And from what I've read and from what I've seen, most TVs, even some of the more modern ones that are maybe only a year or two old, the USB ports on those TVs only provide 5 volts at 500 milliamps of power. And that's not ideal for running these streaming sticks. That's why Amazon actually has a warning message on it saying, do not plug this into your TV's USB port, because most TVs out there just don't provide enough power. So why do we have issues sometimes and it works perfectly fine other times? Well, the Fire TV Stick and other streaming sticks, they're not pulling a constant 5 volts at 1 amp. Sometimes they're pulling a lot less power because they're doing less intensive processes. So that's why it may work sometimes, and then all of a sudden it's pulling too much power and you start experiencing one of these issues that pops up. But one of the strange things about all this is that when you do some research online, some people seem to have no issues whatsoever plugging into their TV's USB port, and some people run into all these different problems similar to what I'm experiencing here. So it's just very strange that even a TV that's not capable of providing the 5 volts at 1 amp necessary, it works perfectly fine. Well, there are a few ways that we can combat this and try and solve this issue without, replacing the entire TV or having to run that USB cable all the way to a wall outlet that may not be easily accessible. So the first thing you can do is use a much shorter USB to micro USB cable to power the Fire TV Stick. Now, some of these cables actually have special components in them where it uses a thick piece of copper wire running through the middle with an outside shielding, and that seems to work better. It can carry the electricity more efficiently to the Fire TV Stick. A lot of people say that this actually solved their problem. When you look at some of the reviews and some of the comments on this, some people say it completely resolved their issue. However, for us, it didn't fix our issue, and we still had issues even after replacing the cable. The second thing you can do is use a very specific cable that has a battery built into the middle of it. Now it does look kind of like this, where one end is just a USB, there's a little battery brick here, and the other end is a micro USB. Now what this does is over time it stores additional power inside that little battery brick, and then when the Fire TV stick requires more power than what the TV can provide, it used the stored battery to actually send additional power to it. And that seemed to solve a ton of people's problems. When you look at this Amazon listing, you can see a ton of reviews, 4.5 star average reviews. And when you look at some of the comments on it, everyone's just saying that this solved their issue and they don't have any issues after using this solution. So if you're having this problem, I'd really suggest kind of checking this out. If it works for you, awesome. And if it doesn't, then you can always return it. Amazon has a great return policy. So if you're interested in that product specifically, I'll link all those down in the description below. The third thing you can do is connect the USB power cable into a different device. So if you have a nearby receiver, amplifier, Blu-ray player, gaming console, anything like that that has a USB port that provides power, then you can try plugging this into that. And what I would really suggest doing is looking at the specs of that product to see if you can find the power output of the USB ports on it. So if it doesn't have enough power output, and then you're really just going to run into the same issue that you have with the TV. But if it does, then it might be a feasible solution for you. However, there's one more thing you need to watch out for. You need to make sure that that USB port is powered even when that device is off. So if you have a Blu-ray player that you're plugged into with the USB, you need to make sure that that Blu-ray player is going to provide power out that USB port even if it's not on. Because otherwise, you're going to have to make sure every single time you want to use the Fire TV that that Blu-ray player or gaming console or whatever is powered on. Because if it's not, then your Fire TV is not powered on. So definitely look into that a little bit if you're thinking about doing this solution. And the last thing you can do is plug it into the outlet like you're actually supposed to. And I know no one wants to hear that, but if none of these other solutions work for you, then that's really going to be your best bet, because that's how it's actually meant to work. And that's what Amazon suggests, so you should probably follow that suggestion if nothing else works for you. Again, what I would suggest doing is trying out a few of these different products. Maybe purchase 2 or 3 cables, try those out, see if they work for you. If they don't work, then simply return them, get a refund. But if it does work, then keep that cable, and then your problem's solved. So if you're interested in any of the products I discussed in this video, look in the description, those links are there. If this video helped you out in any way, I'd appreciate it if you click the like button. We do a ton of different tech-based videos on this channel related to soundbars, TVs, speakers, all of the above. So if you're interested in any type of that content, go ahead and click subscribe, ring the notification bell to make sure you're notified when we post new videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Anything like that. So if that's something you're interested, definitely click. There's my cat here. Definitely click subscribe.